And I will go ahead to the main event. This ain't going to take long. The main event on this TV program was for the interim TNT TV championship. I guess TBS champ. Well, wait a minute.
No, TNT.
But they were on TBS.
Correct.
Anyway, the interim title, because you always have an interim title, as somebody mentioned on the internet, when a guy's going to be unavailable for a week to 10 days. Sammy Guevara against Daniel Garcia. And since they can appoint an interim TNT TV champion, I can appoint an interim AEW reviewer, which is you, great Brian Last, because I gave up and turned this fucking program off. Did I miss anything?
It was all right. The crowd, we could talk about the crowd in a moment, they were what they were. Jericho is at ringside. Jericho's so counterproductive to everything he's involved in at this point. He's right off Raw. Everything he's doing would work perfectly in the WWE. It feels fake and lame, and that's kind of what he is right now. I think Daniel Garcia shows a lot of potential, especially if he puts on some size. He has a different kind of face than everyone else. It sounds like a weird thing, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but he could be like a hooligan. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like a different kind of guy. Sammy's going to be interesting. I wish he would stop hitting so many things, doing so many things that looks like he barely hits the guy he's doing them onto, usually on the floor. What's Sammy's future? Is he going to be their Randy Orton? Like, what is Sammy's future? I don't know, but this is all about teasing the Jericho, Eddie Kingston stuff. This was a bad main event for this show. This show went downhill, and there was nothing throughout the show that would have made you want to stay for this main event. I fell asleep during it the first time I watched it, and then I had to go back and watch it again this morning.
All right.
You didn't miss much.
Well, two things then, because I've heard one remarked on, the other one I hadn't. I've heard a lot of people remarked, sent pictures out, talked about it. The building was empty in Raleigh. And also, what were the ratings? Because last week we said, okay, the show dovetailed. It wasn't nearly this bad. Now, they must have listened to our program last week and said, you think we can really end on a fucking sour note? Watch us this week. What were the ratings? Did anybody stick around through this punishment? And what building were they in Raleigh? Because they weren't in Dorton Arena.
Was it the PNC Arena?
Well, see, all these buildings are new. When I used to be in Raleigh every week, Dorton Arena maxed out at about 8,000 people if every seat was filled in that big floor area. And that's probably the biggest wrestling crowd that I ever remember hearing about in Raleigh. I don't know, maybe the WWE in one of these newer buildings has done a bigger crowd. We didn't hear about it, but Raleigh through the years it was always a good, solid town and usually did pretty good, but Charlotte drew the big crowds at Charlotte Stadium or the Coliseum, Greensboro Coliseum. Charlotte's only 160 miles from Raleigh. Greensboro is 70 miles from Raleigh. You got Fayetteville is close by. And all those towns ran regularly. So Raleigh was never a place where you went to the bigger building or did a special bash show because Dorton Arena couldn't handle the crowd. We sold it out a couple of times, not normally. So Raleigh was never a major city for drawing big crowds, but how big was this building? Because you shouldn't go into Raleigh expecting more than 5,000-6,000 people.
I am going to look it up right now. The PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina seats for ice hockey 18,680.
Jesus.
And for basketball 19,722.
Well, good. Then hello to those 12,000 empty seats. I mean, they just bit off more than they could chew. But then the feedback from the fans and some of them being pissed was because all the guys were they put all the people across from the hard camera so you could see them on TV, obviously, and all the talent that did in-ring interviews were talking to a completely empty side of the building with their backs to the paying customers. And that was a complaint I saw registered a couple of times. If you notice, you don't have to do that. CM Punk doesn't do that. When Punk speaks, and Bryan Danielson does a bit of this also, he walks around the ring and acknowledges everybody on all four sides, and it looks natural both in the arena and on television that you would be emoting, speaking to all of the people in the building, and primarily you're opened up to the camera. A lot of other people just stand there, turn their backs on the fucking people that paid to get in, and just talk to the camera. So, but yeah, they obviously had easily 12,000 empty seats in that building. If it seats 18, 19,000 for hockey and fucking basketball. What were the ratings on this thing?
And just real quick before we go to the ratings, I just want to look up the date of Dynamite was January 12th.
Yeah.
According to the website, and this could be wrong, there was nothing booked in the Dorton Arena. There was something on the 8th and 9th, which was the Forever and Company Winter Wedding Show. And on the 14th to 16th, which was the Bass and Saltwater Fishing Expo. But nothing on the 12th. I don't know what else is going on there.
Well, but now herein lies another problem. Dorton Arena is an architectural marvel. It's on one of the lists of the, great architecture in the United States, but it also has been there for 40 years. The locker room areas are small. It's hard to set that building up for television. In the summertime, because of all the glass windows, you were doing TV with daylight outside and getting progressively darker. In the summertime, when you had a 7:30 show and it didn't get dark till 9:15, so the lighting's hard to control. In the wintertime, it's colder than a fucking witch's tit in that building. So for a big time television production, it doesn't look great. It's not easily tricked out for TV, and there's a huge entry area, because the floor is giant, massive compared to most arenas of that size. So it looked great when Crockett did TV there because every seat was full and all the people were jumping up and down, screaming, throwing babies in the air, and you overlooked the windows. But for something like they're doing today, Dorton Arena wouldn't be the most attractive place, but that doesn't mean, okay, let's go to a 20,000 seat building. We'll only fill a quarter of it. That's not even knocking them. That's what they draw for the majority of their house shows in regular markets not named New York or Chicago. So it's not like Raleigh was going to be any different, better, or worse.
It'll be very interesting to see how the West Coast tour goes when they do that. But this week's ratings, Jim, for Dynamite on January 12th, the viewership was 969,000 viewers.
So they lost around about 100,000 or so, give or take, of their average from last week with the title match.
The last 4 weeks, December 22nd, 1,020,000. December 29th, 975,000. January 5th, 1,010,000. And this past week, 969,000.
Okay, so they only lost about 50,000 from the title match last week.
Yeah.
But what was the trajectory of viewership? If these people stayed to the end on this program, they will watch anything.
I have to find that. I don't have that in front of me at the moment.
Well, drat. Well, then we'll come back with that at a later time.
All right.
Until then, I'll just act like I'm right.
That works for you. Go for it.
No, hey, I mean, it's not like some of these AEW fans. If they would watch some of the things that they put on, they'll watch anything. So maybe they stuck with it. But I can't imagine why any grown adult with a life and anything else to do would have not tuned this program out about 45 minutes in, or maybe even at the top of the hour after giving them multiple chances to do something interesting. We shall see.